Hello, everybody, and everybody, welcome in to Perspectives. We're glad you're here today. Uppers are a little bit loose. We're taping this on the 16th. Now, I need to explain to you why I'm giving you the date. This is the date. We went to bed last night. It was fairly nice weather. Little wind, that was about it. We woke up today, it's like 300 degrees below zero. The wind is 400 miles an hour out of the north. Everybody in this studio is cold. Everybody outside the studio, you know, they're probably statues from now on. The weather's changed, and it's going to change again in the next 24 to 48 hours. So it's just something you live with in Oklahoma. Now, let's get down to the business at hand. Our guests on our first segment today are board member Danielle Marticello and executive director Tonya Blansett with the Tulsa Air and Space Museum. And hello to both of you.
Hello, Sam.
Hi there.
Good to have you with us. A little bit, Tonya, from you first. As executive director of the Air and Space Museum, you have to know that what you have on exhibit there has really affected a lot of very young people.
Well, that's our mission. Our mission is to inspire the younger generation to pursue those STEM careers, especially in aviation, since that's the #2 industry in our state. And it continues to grow, and companies want to move to Oklahoma, and we need to develop that workforce for them. And by bringing the kids here to the museum and getting them excited about aviation and STEM, and work, bringing the kids to be part of our programming with hands-on STEM education, it really gets them excited about it. And so that's what we do. We work really hard to do that.
Well, you're succeeding by leaps and bounds. Daniel, you're a board member, but before we started taping, I made the mistake of saying, are either one of you pilots? And you gave me a resume about as long as my arm from your work in the Air Force. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I did 26 years in the Air Force, retired as a colonel out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I had the best transition an active duty officer could hope for. I finished up my Air Force career and moved here to Tulsa to take charge of an Air Force simulator company. We support the United States Air Force by building, updating, upgrading, and maintaining flight simulators. In particular, ones for the A-10, the E-4B, and the C-5 Galaxy cargo aircraft.
Well, you've been up where even the birds won't fly. So let me just ask you before we get into more on air and space. What is it we're shooting down out of the sky? We know one was a spy operation, but what are the others?
I think the jury's still out on that, Sam. I think they could be private weather balloon kind of science projects, or potentially other reconnaissance kind of objects from either China or elsewhere. I think the government's keeping the actual information close hold until they're very confident of what they found and how to ensure that they don't let anything get through undetected going forward. So I'm just as eager as you to find out what those were. What I can say is I take pride in the fact that I helped in the development of the missile that was used to shoot down that Chinese spy balloon, and so there's a little bit of pride there on my part as well.
Yeah, do your trigger fingers still work?
Yes, sir.
Well, we're glad you're on board with us today. First of all, let's go back now to Tonya, if we could, for a few minutes. We have some video from the Air and Space Museum for the folks that might not have had an opportunity to go through there. And I know you guys really need cash. You need money. So much of what you have is really already earmarked for children's exhibits. Folks to come in and do lectures and that sort of thing. So you can't take it from one fund and give it to another fund. You have to have direct cash flow. But one of the things that would help would be to put you into a 501c3 status. And that takes an act of the legislature, doesn't it?
Well, we've already had a 50c3 status since 1994, but Oklahoma has some unique tax laws that really restrict museums into different categories. And currently we don't fit into any of the categories Even though we're a 501c3, we're not exempt from having to pay sales tax on things that we purchase for the museum, such as the exhibits that you're showing on the TV now. Our paper products, our cleaning products, all of those things, our education supplies, when we purchase them, we have to pay sales tax.
So you need some relief from that.
Absolutely. So all of those dollars would be put right back into our programming, right back to help those kids.
Daniel, is there anything moving in Oklahoma City in the way of the House and the Senate to get you that relief?
Yes, sir. There's been bills entered in both the House and the Senate at the legislature in Oklahoma City that are under consideration as we speak, that would exempt the museum and other entities such as ourselves across the state from having to pay that sales tax. It's really kind of a unique perspective, as Tonya said, in Oklahoma, in the fact that we are a 501(c)(3) at the federal level. However, just due to the nuances of the current law, we sort of fall through one of those cracks. And so we're really glad that Senator John Haste, Senator Pugh, and Senator Perito have taken this on, as well as members of the House, to try and get this legislation updated.
Because without it, you're essentially without a 501(c)(3), and you need it.
Correct.
Good Lord, that's an awful position to be in. Well, I have to tell you, the few times that I've been in your marvelous facility, I have seen children transition from children at play to children all of a sudden a very serious hands-on educational youngster that's saying, what's that? How does that work? They're getting an education just walking through there. You guys see that all the time, don't you?
Yes, sir. It's so important to inspire kids into the aerospace field. And I like to, when I talk about this with individuals that are considering a donation to the museum or considering volunteering or supporting the museum, I draw upon my own experience in that I was a child living in a very rural area of upstate New York, and I was inspired to join the Air Force and go into aviation because of a local Air National Guard base that had A-10 aircraft, as well as the Air and Space Museum I visited one summer down in Washington, D.C. And both of those experiences really set me on a path that ultimately led to a 26-year career, multiple degrees, and now president of a company, all because I was exposed to aviation early in my life and inspired to make that my mission going forward, if you will.
And you know, these kids might see this sort of thing in a magazine or on television, but there's a big difference between seeing a picture of it and actually having an opportunity for a hands-on experience.
Yes, sir. And they're making, we've made a number of changes in the museum over the last year or so to bring in more what we call interactive exhibits, where the kids can actually participate, put hands on, and have feedback as they're experiencing the exhibit. The best example of that is the Space Shuttle Landing Simulator. We took an old space shuttle hull, if you will, a flight deck, and we partnered with the University of Tulsa and SimStar to convert that into an interactive landing simulator. So now 2 kids at a time can get in there, use the joystick, use the controls to land the space shuttle at Edwards Air Force Base. And that's just makes it so much more interesting than the old way of museums where you read a placard, you maybe looked at the exhibit and moved on. This really draws the student into the experience and hopefully further inspires them towards a STEM career in aerospace.
Tonya, I got to know, because you're on the floor quite a bit throughout the museum. I mean, you see these youngsters come and go. Do you ever see 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 that all of a sudden make that flip-flop change from wild-eyed kid to with a bow and arrow outside playing in the yard to something, all of a sudden, I want to be an astronaut?
We see it every day. So my background is STEM education, and what you're describing is what we call touch points of inspiration. And you never know when that one particular aha moment for that child is going to stick with them for the rest of the life and be one of the core values that they make career choices from that point forward. One of my favorite stories, Bill Pogue was an astronaut born in Okemah, and his parents were teachers in Sand Springs. And his brothers and sisters were here one time. We were celebrating Bill, and he donated a lot of great things here to our museum. And his sister said that their uncle would bring star charts. He was in the Marines, and he would bring star charts out, and he and Bill would stay outside in the yard all night long looking at the stars. And that's what inspired Bill to dream for the stars. He started out as a Thunderbird pilot. And so that's just an example of someone that's a family member or a field trip to a museum, a teacher. All it takes is that one touch point of inspiration. And so when the kids walk in through our door, we want to impress on them hundreds of touch points of inspiration. So that's our goal. We have a lot of hands-on interactives and a wonderful fleet, mostly military and aviation retirees that make up our tour guides. And they are incredible with the kids, and they tell very meaningful stories to them. So by the time the kids spend a few hours here, they've definitely had hundreds of touch points of inspiration.
Well, I have to tell you, because I've seen them in action, and I know for a fact they talk to the child on the child's level. They don't give them facts and figures that a child will go, get that glassy-eyed look, and you lose them. They give it to them in a way that they really spoon-feed them knowledge and curiosity. And that's the beauty of it, and that's what hooks them into aviation.
Definitely.
Well, anyway, thank you both, and keep us posted. I'm assuming one can go to your website and connect with the hours available and all that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. And in fact, we have an event coming up on the 25th. It's the Runway 5K Run. This year, it's focused on women in aviation. We have Eileen Collins, a former space shuttle commander. She will be the guest speaker. We're planning on having a number of young women groups, the Girl Scouts, et cetera, come on out and hear her speak, as well as take a 5K run down the runway. So I would encourage everybody to go to the website and sign up for that event. It should be a good time.
Hey, listen, thank you both. And keep us posted. Anything we can do on this end to promote, to help solidify your needs and let the folks know at home what you need, when you need it, please contact us and we'll do what we can to help you out, okay?
Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right, we appreciate you both. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.